Welcome to the Style and Soul podcast, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of fashion, jewelry, and retail. Hi, I'm Jenny Livits, owner of Pink Lagoon, a lifestyle boutique in Solana Beach, California. After being in the heart of retail for over 2 decades, I wanted to create a space where we could go deeper into the stories and personal journeys of the designers, founders, and creative minds shaping what we wear and how we live. From the showroom to the boardroom, this is where creativity and business come together and discover how to build a life with style and soul. I'm really excited to have Bridget King from Bridget King Fine Jewelry on the Style and Soul podcast. Welcome, Bridget.
Hi, Jenny. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm so glad to have you. We have been carrying your line, for how long now? Has it been a couple years?
Yeah, I think, yes.
This became a fan favorite very fast. And I have just loved getting to know you and your story and really wanted to take this opportunity for you to share with our community and the people that are listening to this podcast, just kind of more about like your story and how you got into this line of work. So if you could tell us how it kind of started and just like your journey to becoming a jewelry designer.
So my story started a long time ago when I was 19 and I was a student at UCLA. My parents were like really overprotective, so they didn't let me live at school. I was driving like an hour and a half to school, an hour and a half back, and I was like going crazy. And then so my dad finally said, "Oh, if you can pay for your own rent, you can move out." So I walked into Nordstrom one day and then I saw a pair of earrings and it wasn't even gold and it was $40. And like back then it was like a lot for like a non-gold jewelry. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I can do this myself. So I found these bead stores and I was like, I can put something together. And I didn't even know like proper tools or whatever. I used like an old pair of tweezers and I made all these jewelry. I wore them. My friends loved it. And then one of my friends' moms owned a boutique. So she goes, "Yo, you want to sell it at my boutique?" And I said, sure. Then what happened was I'm dating myself here, but Contempo Casuals was so big back then. It was a junior chain store. And then they had an open buying day. So I went in, I remember the buyer's name was Anne. And right away, she loved my stuff. And she goes, I want to order 60 pairs of this and 40 pairs of that. So I was so excited.
Wow.
I know it was, well, you know what? Back then it was like handmade jewelry. I went and bought all the material. I made everything, 100 pairs of earrings overnight. And the next day I put it all in a shoebox. I went back to Contempo, like to the receiving dock. And then I was just like, here's my order. And then the guy looks at me and goes, "Oh, sweetie, you know what? You need to put it on your earring tree and you need to like invoice us and ship it to us by UPS. I'm like, what's an invoice? What's UPS? I had no idea. I was 19. I was like a college student, but the business grew and actually I got a rep in California Mart. And so I was selling to everywhere in the US, Hawaii, Florida, like everything. I got so busy that I kind of left school for a quarter and just concentrated on my business. And I never told my parents. By then, I had already
moved out on this podcast.
Well, yeah, now they know, but they were just like, "Oh, you graduated in the summer. Okay, I guess you're a little bit slower, whatever." So anyways, fast forward, my training is actually in fashion design. So I actually worked in New York for many years as a fashion designer, and that's where I met my husband. And then his job took us to Hong Kong, where, we were married, we had 2 kids. I was making all these like really elaborate Elmo and Teletubby cookies. And I was like, I really need a creative outlet. So that's when Bridget King Jewelry was actually born, because that was 2003. And my youngest was 2 years old. My oldest was like 4.5. And I started to do jewelry again. And this time it's fine jewelry. So that's long story about how I started my journey in jewelry.
So how many years has it been now that you've been Bridget King Fine Jewelry?
So 22 years, 22.
Yeah,
I mean, when I say it.
Career. Yeah, it's an amazing career in the fine jewelry business. I think it's so impressive, honestly. And I think it's always fascinating that so many jewelry designers, and I think it's really helpful to talk to like aspiring jewelry designers about this. Like so many start with non-fine because just the cost alone, right?
Yes.
To make something as a new artist would be preventative, like just how, expensive it is to work with fine jewelry, just gold and materials. So I've heard that before with other jewelry designers that I've interviewed on the podcast, that they started with beads or but like that calling to be a jewelry designer never really left them. Like it never really left you. Was there like a defining moment when you knew that jewelry was like your calling? Or do you think it was just that since the beginning?
Ever since I was little, I always collected jewelry, right? Like I'm always collecting jewelry. Like I still have it right now, and it still serves as an inspiration for everything that I do. But what happened was I always wanted to be a fashion designer. So it wasn't really jewelry. Jewelry just fell into my lap because it was a way to make rent, move out. But then I discovered like I really have a knack for it and I really love it. And it's more like to see instant gratification because back then when I was making it by hand, it was just super quick, right? Like I could make a pair of earrings like in an hour or something like that. And now that I do fine jewelry, it's a different story, obviously, but it's still the same because I just love it when clients are like, I wore your jewelry, I got so many compliments. So I think jewelry design has always been there. I don't know where it came from. It was just there. I think I've always loved it.
How would you describe the soul of the Bridget King Fine Jewelry brand?
I would describe it as elevated everyday jewelry that focuses on clean lines and geometric shapes, and it's classic with a twist. So what I want my jewelry line to be is I want it to be the go-to jewelry for everyone. It's kind of like your favorite pair of jeans. You know how like you put it on and you're like, this makes me look so good. I love it. It's comfortable. And I know that I look good. So
like basics wardrobe.
Yes. So I want my jewelry to be that piece of jewelry for everyone.
I love that. What do you feel like are your dominant materials or techniques, anything that inspires you to create your pieces? Like, because it is more gold heavy, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is. Mostly gold and diamonds. What sets me apart from maybe some of the other jewelry brands is that I concentrate on versatility and personalization. So I've always wanted, like, if you buy something, you can wear it different ways, right? Mm-hmm. And so my icon collection is a series of like diamond teardrops that are in different sizes, and you can layer them to form like different, looks. Right? But you can wear them separately, or you can stack them and put them together. That is great because you can wear the small teardrops every day. And then if you're going out for dinner, you can layer on the small one and it looks completely different. You can travel well with it because they can lay flat. So I think that is the one thing that kind of sets me apart is the modular aspect of my designs. And then the personalization obviously is my charm necklaces, which I just adore. And that was also inspiration from like a friend. She was like, Bridget, I really want something personalized. And I said, everyone's doing it. And then she goes, I'm sure you're going to make it different. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to make really great charm necklaces for adults. Like they're really sophisticated, edgy, full of diamonds that you feel powerful to wear and not like, like your kid made it for you, that type of feel, right? It's kind of like a completely different aesthetic.
Yes. If someone's just kind of discovering your brand, what do you think is like the first piece they should be getting from your line?
I would say if you wear earrings, you would probably want to get the open bar diamond huggies because it is my bestseller. And I know that all my clients or friends, I would run into them at occasion or whatever, and they'd be wearing it. And I know they have a lot of jewelry, but that's their go-to piece. And what is so great about it is it's great. It looks really good, like for every day. But if you buy the extension, add it on later on, it becomes like a more substantial pair of earring. And it's like the extension is black diamond on one side and white diamond on the other. So it gives you versatility. And when I designed the extension to go with that, like everyone loved it and they wanted it. So it's always good to have a piece of jewelry that you love, but you can build on.
Yeah, like layer and start somewhere. I think that's the thing is like people just need to to start somewhere with their fine jewelry, and then they can really find their own style around those first purchases, and then it evolves from there.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite piece for you to wear in your collection? I mean, you're wearing that amazing heart necklace that I've been...
Oh, yeah. I hate to say this, but sometimes my favorites change from time to time.
Sure. Yes.
But I always wear my charm necklace, and I don't know if you can see it.
Show it. Yeah, I love your charm necklace.
So it has like my kids engraved on front and back of the charm. It has my husband's initial. It has my dogs. And then I made myself boss of the family. And then I have a spear. I mean, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I just throw it on and it's my armor. And I feel like that's something I don't like not wear. I always wear it. Then there's another piece, like I have this chain bracelet that I've had for like almost 20 years. And it's beautiful. And it's just something that I always throw on and I have. And then most recently, it's my pinky signet ring right here. There's a story behind this one because I had a signet ring that said B with diamonds when I was very young. And my mom keeps giving me pinky rings because she said it's for protection. And so I would always have pinky rings. And then I loved it so much. And one day I was looking at my treasures that I've kept and this popped out and I was like, wow, I really love that piece. So why don't I reimagine it and make it with the more angular font? And it's become such a hit. And especially when I say, you know, the pinky ring is protection. And so I think that it's like double meaning and people love it and they like the way it looks. It looks powerful. It's very chunky. So it's almost like a man's ring, but but it's for us, it's for women, but then also it's a pinky ring. So that, I wear that every day now.
I love that. I mean, you've had your business for such a long time now. Maybe you can speak a little bit to our younger listener who's maybe wanting to start their own business. What kind of advice do you have for like aspiring jewelry designers or just entrepreneurs? It doesn't have to be a jewelry designer when trying to make space for themselves in this very saturated industry, fashion, jewelry design, creative industry? I
would say to young entrepreneurs is like, just have no fear. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, you have nothing to lose. Just do it. I think by just default, when you're young, you're just fearless. Anyways, I would have never had a business or anything if I just kind of went for it. Like I said, I didn't know anything and I just did it. And I just, with the idea that I knew I can make beautiful things that I like to wear, maybe other people like to wear. So I think really just to go for it and seek out mentors, because I always say to when I meet young designers, I'm like, call me, like text me. You have any questions? I'm really happy to help you. Because if we have any knowledge that we can share, we should help each other. And so I think that's one thing I think that I would give advice to them. And then just kind of, I don't know. I mean, I felt like I kind of just did it on my own and I just figured things out. But if I had a mentor, it would have been very helpful. So yeah.
That's really good advice. Looking to refresh your wardrobe with pieces that feel as good as they look? Come visit us at Pink Lagoon, a lifestyle boutique in Solana Beach, California, where fashion meets intention. From curated clothing and jewelry to elevated essentials, we help you find your unique style with soul. Not local? No problem. Shop anytime at pinklagoon.com. That's www.pinklagoon.com. Come and discover your new favorite look today. I think you and I have talked about this before, just as where we've said it was almost like our naivety and not knowing and just like a little bit of an innate confidence. Thank you to our parents for instilling that in us, that we're like, I can do this, even though we had no idea what we were doing. So yeah, that fearlessness when you're young is such a gift. You have it. So I love that. I love that answer. How do you stay creatively energized while running, the business side of things? Because, you're wearing, as a businesswoman, designer, you also are running the business. You're wearing so many hats. Like, how do you manage that?
I think that I've always liked to, design beautiful things. It doesn't matter that it's jewelry or clothing or even stationery. I don't think I ever get tired of it because that's my passion. Like other people have hobbies that, so like golf. I love to do what I do. And so I'm always energized to do this. And
you have a lot of energy, Bridget.
I mean, I really love it. I think the best thing is like when you make something and then people tell you what it means to them. And when they wear it, they say it looks so beautiful. It just like feeds my passion. And that's what keeps me going, to get to hear this from other people.
Has there been any sort of like really amazing milestone or moment in your business or career that just like stands out to you? And then perhaps like one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
I think that I'm so much more a jewelry designer than a businesswoman. I have to say that, like, sometimes I wish I had gone to business school or something, like learn, So my biggest challenge has always been to manage the business side of my business. Sometimes, the practical problems that come up or anything that deals with the business side, like I'm not that great at. And I kind of ask help with, from my friends or something, like get their, pick their brain, things like that. But I'm still like that. I'm still the same person, but I've run my business for 22 years. So but that's not the part that I really love. I just love to design beautiful things.
So do you like outsource more of that part, or do you just kind of deal with it anyways? Like, I'm just thinking for, the people listening, because I do think it's important to understand, like, what am I good at? What is my strengths? And, learning to support yourself as an entrepreneur in the areas where you need support. And it's also hard to wear all those hats and do all those things. Like, it can also be a detriment to your business if you're doing everything all the time, empowering to put the right people in the right places and to also fill the void so that you can shine at what you are good at and what moves your business forward.
Yes. I think obviously when I started, I was just me. And then eventually I did learn about more of the business side, how to get organized. And now I have people like help me with, getting me organized. I don't have to do the day in, day out type of thing. Like a lot of things like, just even like dealing with inventory. I'm sure you understand, like it's such a nightmare, like to have to like deal with that. It's like not fun, right? But now I have help and I've been doing this for so long. I feel like I know how to do it, but I just don't like to do certain parts of it, which I have people to help me. So I think basically is to grow your business where you can afford to hire people and have them do the things that you don't like to do.
I know. I mean, that's an amazing goal just right there, is just to business to a point where you can afford to pay people to do the things you don't want to do. That's it. That's great.
Yeah.
You are a mom. I think your kids are they're already out of the house, right?
Oh yeah. They both have their own salaries now. So yay.
So nice for you. More jewelry for you.
I know.
How did you balance, because you were raising your kids just like I have, like since they were babies to, young adults. How have you managed motherhood and entrepreneurship?
Like I said, I started my business when my youngest was 2. And I remember I was just dying to like do something. And so I would put the kids to bed like at 8 and I would start designing until 2 a.m. And then I would, because when you're on a roll and you just can't stop, right? But I would force myself to go to bed at 2. And then I'm up at 6:30 and getting the kids ready and then, taking my older one to school. I just did that for quite a long time, I have to say. At one point, I had an office and I had employees and I was selling to Harvey Nichols and I was like growing my business. And one day I got a call from my daughter and she was crying on the phone. She was like, you know what? I need help with my homework. So then I kind of like realized, being a mom comes first, always. So that's my priority. So I have to say, I got rid of the office. I didn't have any employees. I moved my business home so that I could always be there for my kids. And I waited and I kept my business smaller until that they were in high school. Then I started to do what I really wanted to do. And I don't call that a sacrifice because that's what I want to do. And that is my priority. we're moms. So that's what we do. So those are, I guess, the challenges. And even when I kept my business smaller, I was still able to manage everything. It's just that I couldn't have an office with people there to support me as much, but I was there for my kids, and that was so important to me.
Yeah. I love hearing other women talk about how they manage it. And I think that there's so much to be said for designing your life, to match like the goals that you have. And they're not just business related, they're personal. Like it's our life plan, not just our business plan. And like when you can make that conscious decision that this season of life is going to be my business, but my priority is, raising my kids through these teenage years or things like that. And I think more women need to have these conversations. I had a business coach once say, like, you can turn the faucet on when you want it, and you can also turn it down. And it was kind of like, oh, I can. I didn't realize that. Sometimes you're, in life, you're just trained to just keep that water running and going all the time, but you can adjust it to the different seasons and phases of, your life and like where your priorities should be. So I love that.
Yeah, definitely. That was a conscious move. It was hard because I started doing this when I was 19. I've always been an entrepreneur. So it was really hard to scale back, right? And back then it's like if I have to fly to New York, I have to do a trunk show, but then they want me there every month. I can't do that because, my kids are young. I think if you can manage it and have both, that's great. But for me, I could not. So I just did it another way. And I'm happy that I did, so.
Yeah. And I remember talking to another designer once, and it was like, the journey isn't necessarily like, and it's not a race. You still maybe at the same place as a different designer or whatever, but you guys went different routes to get there. So it's just kind of reminding ourselves that sometimes. What has been one of the most meaningful stories you've heard from a customer who wears your jewelry?
Okay, I have several, but the one that stands out is there was someone, she was getting married. So she bought a pair of my earrings. She got married in Venice and she wore my earrings for her wedding. And then she had a friend who was also getting married in Venice. So she loaned her the earrings as her, something borrowed, right? But her friend loved it so much that she gave her the earrings. And then she came back to me. She goes, I need to buy another pair because I gave my friend the earrings that it was as the something borrowed. And I just thought it was like, wow, for one of the most important days in their lives, they were wearing my jewelry in both of them, and they were brides and in Venice, that was just so incredible. It made me feel so happy. Another client, she came and she told me, she said, I got divorced and I had to start all over again, get a job. My first paycheck, I came and bought your necklace because whenever I wear that, it makes me feel powerful, like I can do anything. So that was also really meaningful. And then the third one is kind of sad. I had a client who lost her husband and her daughter. And she came to me and she asked me, she just said she wanted to get the double-sided dog tag with all the engravings on them. And I think that I was trying not to cry because I felt like, these are times that you get so emotional, but I feel so honored that I could do that for her. So these are the things that I think that makes what I do so meaningful, right? If you can touch people's lives just a little bit, I think it's great.
I think those are beautiful stories. And to have these like what may be future heirlooms or these momentums or things that are going to be passed on to like the future generation is just this like keepsake and memory is really special. So how do you stay grounded and connected to sort of your purpose while you're building the story brand? You've been doing this for so long. So like is there any sort of like practices or, I don't know, mindfulness practices or things you do to just stay grounded?
Well, I do Pilates and I love my dogs. So
yeah, I love your dogs.
So I'm always like, just hugging them or whatever. I think they're my emotional support they're like my emotional support actually, but I think my dog needs me as her emotional support. It's vice versa. I don't know. But I think the best thing for me is to have have a long coffee with my besties because that's what helps me. Like if I'm frustrated or I'm like having a bad day or something like that, it's always my girlfriends that help me out. They're like, I just like, okay, here, let's go for a 4-hour coffee break or something. And then you just spill your guts and then you feel much better. Like that's my therapy, right?
Yeah, it's female friendship. So what do you think is next for Bridget King Fine Jewelry? Any new launches or ideas you have up your sleeve that we don't know about that you can tell us about?
I just launched my new spring collection and it's called Essentials because I feel like there's been a lot of other things going on, like color stones and whatever. But I just felt like we really need some major pieces that we want to keep, like you say, a modern heirloom that we want to pass down. And it's just really well made and very classic, but with an edge that you like the perfect pair of studs or the perfect hoops or the perfect medallion. So I kind of concentrated on that and called it Essentials because I feel like it needs to be a more grounding type of collection. I have a collection already existing in my line called 24/7 and I keep adding to that, but I think this is a much more elevated and grown-up version of like these major pieces that you should own, like diamond tennis bracelet, but it's done a different way with details that are like much more modern, but you will always wear it. You'll always own it, but it looks different from all the other pieces that you own.
I'm excited for that. How do you hope people feel when they wear your pieces?
I want them to feel like powerful, to feel beautiful, to feel like it's almost like it's your best friend. Like you would just naturally put it on and know that you're going to look really good. Basically, also, it's like a connection because I had like my good friend, she's one of 3 sisters and she's been wanting to get a pinky ring forever. But when she saw my ring, she said, well, I'm going to order one for all of the sisters. So they all wear it and it's a connection. So I wanted to like, when you put on my jewelry, there's meaning behind it. And that's why I always like when somebody buys a piece and I kind of like, if you have the time, can I tell you about my inspiration? Can I tell you what is the meaning behind it? How did it come about? I just want them to have some sort of emotional attachment to the jewelry. That's always been my goal.
Yeah, we love that. We love that. And I think the clients love that, to have that connection, not just to the designer, but then to the piece and a little bit of like history around its creation. I always ask this towards the end of the podcast. How do you make sure you're living your life with style and soul?
That's like kind of hard to answer because
Loaded question.
I feel like if you just know in your heart, what are the most important things to you? And that will never change, right? So family, best friendships, people that you love, people that you care about, they're all part of your like your whole life. Your business, your passion is part of that, right? And to be able to share that with the other people in your life is important. So I think that just try to balance everything, which I have to say, I have to try to balance everything because I tend to like do more work than have fun. And so I told my friends, I said, okay, my new thing is this year, I'm definitely going to make time. I'm going to put it in my calendar. I'm going to block time out because when you do make time like that for other people, you really do feel refreshed. You come back and you're looking at things in a different way because you've stepped away for a little bit. So I think to me, I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear what other people do because, you know, there must be other ways to like.
I think you are living your life with style and soul because you're, you know, spending time with your animals and your family and, you know, you're still enjoying probably motherhood and like a new sort of lease on your business at this new stage where you can give it even more attention than you were able to in the past. I've been thinking about that a lot over the last year, especially since COVID, which was like this whole idea of like slowing down to speed up. Like we don't have to work so hard to get the results. Sometimes you need to slow down in order to speed up. Like it's in that like slower pace or that time to think and process. Ideas come and solutions come because you're taking care of yourself more holistically, like all the parts, like you're saying, making time for friendship, making time for relationships, making time for whether it's health or all the things, right, that we are balancing
Yeah.
as women all the time. Yeah. So I think that's a really great answer, like that you're doing all those things. Well, tell us, Bridget, where can people find you besides Pink Lagoon?
I do trunk shows at Neiman Marcus in Palo Alto and in Scottsdale. And I'm also in Paso Robles at a store called Ambiance. I think I've named them all, but there's 2 stores with Ambiance. And then, so online on my website, I'm always putting up new collections and new pieces, but that's where you can find me.
Bridget, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I loved this conversation with you.
Oh, I thank you for having me. You know how I love to tell my stories and, so this gives me a chance to actually think it through and talk about it in a real way that makes sense.
It was amazing. Thanks for joining me on the Style and Soul podcast. I hope today's conversation left you inspired to look deeper, not just at the brands you love, but the stories and the people behind them. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. This podcast is produced by Oleg Livits and edited by David Strutt. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep building your life with style and soul.